Today is the Ides of March, and the stakes of the 2024 election seem higher than ever. Welcome to MOMOcrats MOMochat, part of the Demcast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington from crooksandliars.com. And I don't know where to start this week. It's every week just seems to get crazier and crazier. Maybe we can start with the kind of Ides of March thing and the news that just broke that Mike Pence has stabbed his metaphorically stabbed his former boss.
I don't know
Tell
why
me,
it took so long.
what happened? I missed this.
Oh, he just said on Fox News that he will not endorse Donald Trump, which is like the most he will ever say.
Oh,
I mean, it was like a flat denial. It was basically, are you going to endorse him? And they're thinking, yeah, he's going to do that thing. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I mean, good for him for not endorsing the guy who didn't care if he got hanged outside the Capitol.
Yeah, talk about doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's like, yay you. There's a lot more you could have done, but I mean, I guess maybe Ken Buck gave him the courage to do something that he should have been doing anyway.
And good for Ken Buck.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Buck. So Ken Buck, who I did not have on my bingo card as a somewhat hero of the Republican Party right now.
Well, I mean, he did previously, say that there was nothing to this impeachment.
No, I know, but I mean, Ken Buck, back in the day, right, in the 2010s,
he's been out crazy.
Exactly, he's been out crazied.
Yeah,
because he was no prize. Let me say, when he was running for governor, I was shuddering for Colorado. I was so glad when he lost, and yet here we have him saying basically the impeachment's bullshit. There is nothing to it, and I just don't want to be part of this party anymore, period. And,
So he had previously announced that he would not be seeking re-election, but rather than go to the end of his term, he is leaving next week.
Yeah, and what this does, everybody to bird and
Oh, especially Lauren Boebert.
I mean, that's the best part of this whole thing is that Lauren Boebert now has to resign from Congress if she wants to run in the special to replace him.
And she won't do that.
Or she doesn't do that and doesn't run and has no chance in the general where the full 2-year term will be. So
wait, can you explain that for the slow one again? Say that again.
It's hard to follow. I had to read it a few times to understand what was going on.
So here's the thing. That because Ken Buck resigned, the governor has to call a special election within 90 days.
Okay.
Right. And in order to run in the special election, Lauren Boebert, who currently represents the 3rd district of Colorado, would have to resign her seat to run in the special election for the 4th district of Colorado.
And that's what Ken Buck represents.
Correct.
And she would want to represent, she's running for that, she had planned on running for that district next time.
She is running for that district.
Right. That's what I mean. So she's in the next election. I mean, she's running for that district, but she can't now unless she resigns.
Well, she can't run for the special election. She can still run for the general.
Okay, but she can't run now. She can't run now in the special election to replace Ken Buck. She was running to replace him in November.
And it won't be an open seat in November like it would have been if Ken Buck was not retiring.
Now she's going to be running against an incumbent.
Yes.
Right.
And she won't win if she runs in the special election.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, we don't know what would happen if she ran in the special election, but she would have to quit her current seat.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, in the ideal world would be that Lauren Boebert quit to run in the special election, knowing that she'd have no chance in the general, right? But the thing is, their primary for the congressional seat that she's running for is in June.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I mean, if I'm the governor of Colorado,
what is it, March?
maybe,
Right.
and it's March now.
Oh, he's already said that the special election is going to run the same time as the primary in June.
Except that I don't know how it can, because it's more than 90 days. How do they do that? Because it's more than 90 days right now, right? I mean, he resigned in the middle of
April, May,
March.
June. Well, that just depends on when in June.
June 8th or whatever it was that he resigned.
That's not less than 90 days.
Yeah.
Well, wait, when did he resign? I'm sorry.
A couple of days ago.
March,
I mean, it's effective next week. It's the end of the week, next week.
Oh, yeah. So that won't be.
It might work then, because the end of next week is the 22nd, and that 90 days from now would be the 22nd of June. So it's possible that then it works out that that the primary and the special could run at the same time. The problem is, if she doesn't quit to run in the special, then she's going to be screwed in the general, because they're going to vote. People are going to vote for the same person in both.
Yeah.
Just like we did in California. All of us who voted for Adam Schiff for the general voted for him in the special, and, or Katie Porter or whoever. That's how it's going to work. So I have to say, it was honestly a stroke of genius on Ken Buck's part. And I hate to say that, but it's true.
We have to give him more credit than we previously did.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think it's delicious. I mean, it's just because I think her political career is done. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean that goodbye to Lauren Boebert. They'll hire her.
No, she'll be on Fox or Newsmax or whatever.
Right.
She will get a job with the RNC, or because the RNC now is officially the MAGA party.
Or Charlie Kirk's group, or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Anything where she can show up.
Welfare for people like Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely wingnut welfare for her. So it's not like she's going to go hungry in the streets or anything, but she won't.
No, we're not sad for Lauren Boebert.
She's not going to have to walk the streets.
Yeah, we're happy. We're happy for Congress. We're happy for the Colorado 3rd,
I'm starting my vacation early, you guys.
No, go for it, babe.
So, anyway, yes. Now, if we could just get Marjorie Taylor Greene out, that would be amazing. That would be wonderful. Because she's awful. I don't know. I mean, go ahead, Trump. Have her as your running mate.
Oh God. Will he?
No. Well, he's also reportedly considering Tulsi. And so is RFK Jr.
Well, RFK Jr. is considering
Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, who believes every conspiracy theory that's ever walked the planet. That guy has been hit in the head too many times or something.
Yeah,
he is
real
a whack job and a nut. But I don't see Trump choosing either one of those people. Maybe Tulsi, but definitely not Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she's too much of an attention whore. She'll put too much attention away from him.
Yeah.
And that'll be a bummer. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, nobody's going to get excited about Tulsi Gabbard. Sorry.
Right.
I mean, it's a cynical, we can find a South Asian for our ticket too kind of move if it's her, but no. So
she's no Kamala Harris.
No.
Nobody is. And that's why
is great.
Kamala Harris is great, and that's why they do everything they can to denigrate her. Did you see that Kathleen Parker thing today in the Washington Post?
I didn't. Why? Oh, Kathleen Parker is such a
say it.
Way.
Yeah. She's awful. She's awful. And it's yet another, Biden is baked in, so now they are calling for him to dump Kamala. And mind you, this is not a Democrat calling for him to dump Kamala. This is a Republican calling for him to dump Kamala.
We need to follow all the Republicans' advice.
Well, Republicans are scared of Kamala. That's why.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the whole
This was
reason.
in the Washington Post, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole reason for the Biden age thing is because if something happens to Biden, we have a Black female president.
Right.
And Kamala and she'd be great.
She
Yeah.
would be
And
great.
I tweeted, I was on Threads. I don't tweet anymore. I posted that the people that keep calling for her to drop out, and a lot of Democratic strategists are doing the same,
Yeah.
but they don't
Assholes.
seem to understand who the base of the Democratic Party actually is.
Yeah,
I
well, it's
swear to
always
God.
white people that are doing that.
I'm sorry?
Right? It's always white people that are
It's always
calling.
white people. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And
It's-
mostly males.
Right. And it's stupid. I mean, it's just it's plainly stupid. She's done a great job and
Amazing job, yeah.
and is doing a great job.
Yeah.
And right now, she's the one out there who's putting her butt out on the line to speak about abortion.
Yep.
And she's doing it boldly. I mean,
Yes.
you know,
Going to
visiting,
Planned Parenthood yesterday.
yeah,
It was
exactly.
great.
And everything. So, and I understand that Republicans would like to speak more about abortion. They think that if they talk about abortion, they're going to win.
It's a branding issue.
Oh my God.
Just like, go ahead, make my day. Go, what do you think? Like, they think that I don't know. They caught the car. They're the dog that caught the car, and they don't know what to do with it now.
I mean,
Oh
so the
my God.
House has
She
a
put, oh my God, I'm looking at Kathleen Parker's.
awful. She has
put
never
history
written
making
a
in
thing
quotes.
that I like.
She put his history making selection of the telegenetic Kamala D. Harris. She put history making in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Right? What it was not history making about it? Why are there quotes around that?
Because she's a bitch.
Yeah, she's awful. Everything she's ever written has been awful.
Seemed to have been created from central casting, or was it artificial intelligence? Oh my God. What the fuck?
Right?
You get the first F-bomb. There you go.
Yes.
Well, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Oh, ew. I'm so mad I gave that a click. Ugh.
Right? I know.
Disgusting.
All I did was see the byline on it. It's like, nah, I don't need to read that.
So because
Sorry.
I wasn't here last week, I just have to say that Biden gave one of the best State of the Union addresses that I've ever seen. I've watched them since Nixon. So, I mean, I'm telling you that one was just, I was on my feet. I was on my feet.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yep.
Yeah. You also missed us talking about Katie Britt. And of course, after we recorded last week's podcast, we got to see who SNL put in there to portray her.
Yeah.
And Ted Cruz is very jealous.
What?
Brilliant. Scarlett Johansson was brilliant. And I mean, I told him she looks just like her. Like, it was scary.
Really good with the wigs and the costuming and the sets, and they're excellent at doing that. But
I'm gonna be a contrarian on that one, and I'm gonna say that I would have liked to have seen Chloe Fineman.
Oh, she would have been awesome
doing that one. I would have liked to have seen that go to one of the women on SNL.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have gotten as much attention.
I know. I'm just saying, in my little happy world, that would have happened, and it would have been a nice chance for one of the women who don't get the kudos that they deserve on that show, which is so famously misogynistic, to have instead of Colin Jost's wife, not that she's not a super famous actress on her own, But that, one of the head writer's wives gets to play that role instead of somebody who had, who is a regular on the show, one of the show's cast members. I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
But
Marketing wise.
and personally, I think that Chloe Feynman would have actually done a better voice. But that's just me. I think she would have done a better job doing the Fundy baby voice.
She would have been fantastic.
But Scarlett Johansson did an amazing job. She was great at it, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Scarlett Johansson!" So yes, it got the effect. It had the effect that SNL wanted,
Yeah.
So
I mean, you've got Ted Cruz upset that nobody hot ever portrays him on SNL.
Really? Who wants to tell Ted Cruz?
Had a big sad about that, but
who wants to inform him?
All I could say was, "Ew."
Yeah.
Who wants to let him know why that is?
He thinks Tom Cruise should portray him.
Oh, give me a break, please.
But also, over the weekend, we had Jonathan Katz's tracking down of that story that she told.
Yep.
The lie. Yeah. That she told.
Yeah, which happened after our podcast.
It happened after our podcast. He tracked down the woman who had testified before Congress something like 20 years ago.
Because it so happens.
Because her trafficking occurred in the early 2000s. It occurred in Mexico.
Yep.
It had nothing to do with Joe Biden or U.S. policy.
Yeah, it didn't happen in America.
Yeah.
It happened under George Bush, I think, right? It happened before Obama was president.
Yeah. Right.
And, but somehow.
And Katie Britt somehow doubles down on that, saying she wasn't trying to mislead people.
Oh, sure.
This wouldn't happen in a third world country, And it's like, it was Mexico. It wasn't the U.S.
It was a third world country. Yeah. So what's your point?
I know.
Well, I don't know if Mexico is a third world country.
I said it was a woman, not a girl, a woman. I mean, the whole thing was just stupid. But nobody's going to buy the double down, and it's dumb. And if that was who Trump was considering as a running mate, hey, God bless her. Because she's pretty.
I mean, and you're right about Mexico, Donna. But I mean, it's just like
they're all. I mean, this is the Republican Party. They are liars. They are criminals. They are power hungry. They
are authoritarians.
Yes.
And this week, Trump's people officially took charge, and they purged almost everybody. They purged all these people that were part of that. Everybody with institutional memory, anybody who they might deem as disloyal to Trump. It is now fully Trump. Right. Laura Trump is there, and she's talking
at the RNC. I don't think you said
all this money
at the RNC.
Right, the RNC.
Fully Trumpified now,
and they've gotten rid of outreach to minorities. They are pulling. They got rid of a program to encourage vote by mail. And I am absolutely terrified because they don't seem interested at all in winning an election. And yet they seem very unpanicked about the situation that they're in. And I am wondering what extra legal means they are thinking of taking power.
Yeah, well, that's a dangerous combination, right?
This is what is terrifying me.
So it's not unreasonable to be afraid of that, but and I mean, we just did an article this week about how the RNC has now been turned into a vote suppression organization. It's not a get out the vote. So, I mean, I think we all have to be aware that this election, more than any other election, is going to require everybody to come out and vote. That there's, I mean, everybody. We don't need 30% or 40% voter participation. We need more like 80 or 90 or 95% voter participation. And because that's the only way you overwhelm the plan to steal an election, which is, I mean, let's be honest, for the last 4 years, they've been telling us what they're going to
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
It's all projection. And we shouldn't be surprised by the fact that they're now, I mean, putting Christina Bobb in charge of voter integrity is really something else. I mean, she's the one that got Newsmax sued for, $2 billion or whatever it was that, that they settled.
Oh,
So,
okay. I didn't know who she was. Yeah.
yeah, she was Trump's election integrity attorney who then went and worked at Newsmax after that.
Right. She's
And
also the attorney who was caught, who ended up signing the affirmation that all of the documents, all the classified documents were gone. But that she had no idea, that.
Yeah, she didn't know, but but she shouldn't have signed it.
Right.
Because she didn't know. She should have seen for herself. But I mean, that's the kind of flack she is.
Yeah.
So they've hired her, everything is internal. So a few things are self-evident. One, that every penny that's given to the RNC is going to go to pay Trump's legal fees and for his campaign. There's not going to be any money for down ballot. There's not going to be any money going
Which
to,
is great for us.
right.
Unless they're planning to steal elections in the state houses.
There's other dark money organizations that can definitely fund those other organizations. And I'm fairly certain that they will do that. So I wouldn't get like to thinking, oh, well, thank goodness we don't have the RNC. I mean, they pretty much stripped the RNC of any power. Excuse me. That they've ever had over the last few years anyway. So this is kind of just the next step. But we have an opportunity, I believe, in November to basically to break the Republican Party altogether. And that's what we have to do.
Because
how can we do that?
Because we've got a get out the vote effort. We are organizing in all the states.
Yeah. But my question is, and I want to get back to that, Donna, but my question is, what would break the Republican Party if we took both houses overwhelmingly? Or is that what you're talking about?
That and down ballot.
Down all the state races and Biden winning, basically.
Right.
So,
because the RNC doesn't have the infrastructure now.
And when you say break the Republican Party, how is that going to break them? Rather than I
think if they lose like that they will become irrelevant. And you might see by the way, you might see no labels come up as the replacement for what we've known as the Republican Party.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Something like that. And I'd be okay with that.
That actually makes sense.
Right. As long as the actual Republican Party, which is now the Trump Party, is dead.
Dead.
Right. And gone.
Right.
And that's
okay. So as far as the get out the vote goes, I mean, Biden has set up offices in Wisconsin and Michigan, and so they are not ignoring.
They're not.
Their ground game is serious.
I'll tell you something. Joe Biden, being part of the Obama administration, took a lot of lessons in what not to do after winning office in your first term.
Right,
and the Obama organization did not work on keeping that infrastructure going after he won.
And keeping
the Biden organization,
keeping the majority in Congress.
Yeah, and the Biden administration has done the opposite.
Yeah, they've done a good job, and they're doing a good job. But I mean, the fact remains that, like, for example, you've seen in the primaries, a bunch of people are voting uncommitted, right? And that's because of the Gaza thing. And I don't actually want to go down that road of whether they're right or they're wrong or whatever, but that's what they're doing. And I'm okay with that because it's the primary. If you're going to do it, this is the time
to
register.
This is the time. Make your statement now.
Mm-hmm. And Ilhan Omar yesterday, when she was asked what she would vote in the general, said Biden, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
she said, there was no question in her mind
Kudos to her
that
for saying it out loud.
Biden
And
was who she
Thank
was going to vote
goodness.
for. And
yeah,
but that's important because we
yes,
don't
it
want
is.
people to go out and vote. I just had a discussion with somebody close to me who said, I've been voting libertarian because I just think we need a change. And I'm like, are you fucking out of your mind? What the hell? I'm like, okay, time out. This is not a time where we need a change. And
Yeah,
why
we're
would
not experimenting here. This is not.
why would you think we need a change when things like Social Security and Medicare are on the line? And I mean, we have the best economy we've had since the 50s, since FDR, right? And you're thinking you want to change, dude? Get over it. I was like, I couldn't believe this. I was
I mean,
having this.
there's no such thing as the quiet part anymore. They are
No.
loud and proud of all the terrible things they want to do.
Right, they're
And all
selling.
the terrible things they have done.
Yeah.
Selling cuts to Medicare and Social Security like it's something that people want to buy. It's
Yeah.
crazy, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Trump, over and over again, when he was president, introduced their budgets had cuts all over the place to Social Security
Yeah.
and Medicare.
Yeah.
So when they say that this is something that they're going to do, you should believe them. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
question in my mind. I mean, George Bush tried it. He was the
Yeah.
last one who tried it.
Yeah. Because he had capital,
Right. Political capital. Exactly.
political capital.
Yeah.
And
So,
that didn't go over very well for him.
No.
But
no,
now you've got a bunch of wingnuts running Congress, and we have to get rid of the wingnuts. We're getting closer and closer. The majority, the Republican majority, keeps getting smaller.
Smaller and smaller. Yeah.
so I read something today that said that there were at least 5 other
I know.
Republicans
Yeah.
prepared to also resign.
Yeah.
And that would give us the majority. I think it's
At least
213.
until all the special
To
elections
resign
districts.
before their terms were up.
Yes.
Before. Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that is that they're so frustrated over the fact that they can't get these budgets passed,
Yeah.
that they have
Yeah.
to keep continuing resolutions. And you have Steve Bannon out there like, yeah, just shut down the government. That's what we want to
Right.
do. Shut down the
Steve
government.
Bannon's running the show.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
no place in that party for people who want to actually govern
Right.
in a democratic way.
right.
And no place for compromise, no place
Yeah.
for working with anybody, no place for listening. It's
Mhm.
it's not a political party. It's a ruling party.
It's a
And
cult.
it's a cult. And it's just like there actually are. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but there are Republicans who don't want to be ruled, and they don't even necessarily want to rule, but what's breaking the camel's back is the fact that they're being ruled by the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, and Steve Bannon.
Right.
And it is just, it's such an anathema to them. They're like, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I hadn't heard that about the 5, that there were 5 more. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
I'm not either. I think there's probably even more than 5.
Well,
I think,
especially if you look at the House retreat that they held this week.
oh my gosh.
And half of the Republican House members were no-shows.
Wow.
Over half. They
Yeah.
only had 100
Yeah.
that were there for the
And for
the
one day instead of 2 days because they couldn't get the speakers.
right. And Larry Kudlow of all people bailed out on it. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow, that's
Right?
bad. If you're too crazy for Larry Kudlow.
exactly. Right? I know. It's just it's wild. So they are, I mean, that's why when I hear about us being afraid or us being like or the articles about Democrats in disarray, it just drives me crazy because the division is in the Republican Party. And yes, there is an effort right now to drive a deep wedge into the Democratic Party over what's going on in Israel.
I don't
And
think it's going to happen, though, when it comes right down to it. I don't think we're going to let it happen.
I mean, I think that you've seen that the pressure that's been put on Biden and Harris to call for a ceasefire, right? And you saw Schumer come out this week
yesterday. That was historic.
Call for new elections in Israel. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And that was the right move, by the way. I think that was smarter than a ceasefire call would have been, because he's basically saying he's honoring the people in Israel who have said over and over again, we don't like this, right? We don't like what's happening here. We don't like Bibi. And the problem now is that Bibi is made it clear that he wants to clear Gaza of everybody.
Yeah.
And the West Bank, those ultra conservative West Bank people are doing more settlements and stuff, and they're actually hurting the Israeli cause. Both Bibi
well, no shit. I mean,
they've been doing it for years.
I got to tell you, I get a little squicky when someone over here is talking about anywhere over there, elsewhere in another country, calling for another election, calling for new elections or a vote of no confidence or whatever would pull him out of power, only because something about it just makes me feel like I do not want to get blamed for anything that goes wrong from that either.
But I think Schumer was just echoing what the Israeli people have been saying over the last over a year with demonstrations against Bibi.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Israeli people want him gone, but they can do that, can't they? I mean, can't they call for new elections?
Well, I think that American Jews who have traditionally supported Israel, I think that
we would support that. American Jews hate Netanyahu.
It's valid for an American Jew.
If Israel, called for new elections, we would be gung ho behind it.
Absolutely.
Gung ho. But regardless, I mean, new elections would be amazing if it would have the effect of getting rid of Netanyahu.
Well, you also have the CIA report where, they assess the situation.
Yeah.
And they said that, no matter what they do in Rafah, they're not going to wipe out Hamas. And, Bibi Netanyahu's leadership is now a detriment to their security.
Yeah. Well, he enabled Hamas.
Of course he did. He gave
I know
money.
we didn't want to go down this road, but I mean, that's, this is all part of why he is so evil.
Yeah.
But I can't let a conversation about this go by without reminding everyone that we shouldn't infantilize Hamas.
No.
And we shouldn't infantilize people who support Hamas.
No.
And that Hamas did what they did, not only because Netanyahu enabled them, they did what they did because they wanted to torture, mutilate, kill the Israelis.
And they wanted to start a big war where the world would see Israel as the bad guy.
Yes, and and that's
they wanted to bring the whole Middle East.
I can't say that enough. We can't let them off the hook, and we can't act like if it weren't for Bibi, this wouldn't have happened necessarily, or that Hamas wouldn't exist if it weren't for Bibi. That's not true either. And I just want to, I need to make sure that all gets said.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would add to that is that Hamas has been emboldened by
Mm-hmm.
Russia and Iran and
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hezbollah. So there's a lot of proxies playing in this
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
Yeah.
and it's really
It's
complicated. And
complicated.
I don't think there's any like clear pathway out, but which is why I was glad that Schumer did not call for a ceasefire, and I
Yeah.
was glad that he instead called for what Israelis have been calling for, which is new
Yeah.
elections. I
Yeah.
felt like, okay, that's at least that's something where he's not outright condemning Bibi, but at the same time he's honoring the people who live there who feel like their leadership is failing them.
Yeah.
That's really
Absolutely.
all.
And for me, emotionally, I get very upset when I see people who have traditionally been part of our coalition accusing Joe Biden of genocide.
Ah,
Muslim Americans who voted for him now
mhm,
saying that they won't because they see him as being responsible for all the tens of thousands of the innocent people who are being killed.
right.
And it's horrifying. And it's
Jewish
hard to say
Americans
that.
are saying that.
Yes,
Jewish Americans are
I
saying that.
know. It is very hard. And as a Jewish American, it is
That
very,
is
emotionally, because
it is Holocaust inversion, and it is emotional abuse
well,
of the
it's
worst
both
kind.
it's
It's
both
manipulative.
bad.
I mean, it's intended to make people feel guilty about supporting Israel. That's
Yeah.
what it's
Yeah.
intended to do, and
And
it's wrong.
it's used they take the generational trauma. It's more than just manipulative. It's they take the emotional trauma, the generational trauma, of something that's in our DNA, and they accuse us of supporting. It's just beyond reprehensible that that kind of language being used, and it's intentional.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
I think it's also sincerely felt by a lot of people because, there's generational trauma on all sides. It's a long, complicated history, and everybody is hurting
I
in
mean,
in this conflict.
but I mean, that's the thing that is that emotion on all sides is being used to ramp up
Yeah,
and actually escalate things rather than
yeah,
de-escalate. And that's
yeah,
why I really do think if Israel could vote for a government that would de-escalate and work on finding a two-state solution, which I think
yeah,
is going it has to be the only reasonable way to end this.
yeah,
um, that it would be great for the world, and it would somewhat emasculate the Hezbollah and other organizations that are Al Qaeda and everyone else who are have a vested interest in continuing the conflict.
right.
I know I realize that's an idealistic viewpoint. I'm not a diplomat. I'm just as a person, I just feel like this needs to be de-escalated. We need to stop screaming genocide at
yeah.
people all the time and start
Yeah.
talking about how it can be fixed. And
And
there
again,
and
that was why Schumer's speech
uh-huh,
was notable
right.
because he took that ground.
And the thing is, though, when it comes to Israelis and Palestinians and Jews and Muslims, yes, there is a great deal of generational trauma.
Yeah.
But unless you are part of those groups, I feel like the white Christians who were joining the pro-Palestinian, uh, there are groups there are demographics that don't really fit into that category who are taking great joy in using this as cover to let their anti-Semitic flags fly high.
Absolutely.
Well, you've also got the ones that want Armageddon to happen too.
I was
Yeah.
going to
So,
say, well, they're the
So
ones who are
here,
anti-Semitic.
they're
right.
on the horseshoe is strong with this as
Yes.
far as the anti-Semitic, you know,
Yes.
but I can't tell you how sick I am of being told condescendingly, goy splained that, anti-Semitism is not that, anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, but it sure as hell is a great cover for it. And there's a whole lot of people that take the opportunity to use anti-Zionism as a way to express their anti-Semitism. So, I really wish people would stop trying to tell me that.
I know.
Well, I do too, because really what they're telling you is that I am a dominionist who wants to see the destruction of Israel because
Yeah.
that's the end times. And
Right.
that's and
Or whatever they think.
Right.
I'm not against Jews. I'm just against Israel. Is what
yeah, well,
all the white progressives are telling me.
Right.
No, I
well,
just think Israel was built on white colonialism and needs to be destroyed and all that stuff.
okay, well, and
So I'm
they
like,
don't know anything then. So I mean, you have to write those people off as being ignorant, because we all know that that's not true. I mean, anybody who's studied history knows that that's not true.
right, I
And
know. I'm just saying it's an excuse.
I
But
say we move on and
I do
talk
too. That's good.
about all the different court cases because there was a lot going on. I mean, there
Yes,
was
we have
so
a
much
lot
going on
happening.
this week. I get the Joyce White Vance's newsletter, and last night she was complaining that there was too much for her to keep track of, and
If she can't keep track, there's no hope for the rest of us.
that's what I mean.
Oh my God.
there's rat fucking in New York. I'm sure you're shocked by
Oh,
that.
Oh, get out of here.
doesn't
Not
it
New
sound
York.
like
Come
the Southern
on.
District deliberately, held back on Alvin Bragg's case?
I feel like that's
It's the
exactly what
same
happened.
it's
It
the
makes me
same
really
people that did it to Hillary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the
It's
Southern
Rudy's friends
Yeah. And they'd sat on the
for years.
evidence, sat for years, and then all of a sudden, like, this trial is supposed to start, sorry, I have hiccups, in a week.
Yeah.
In a week.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, hello. Look at what we have. We have all these things from when we investigated it. Dumb, so silly us. We should have given you this sooner, but here it is." And so now, of course, Trump's people want a 90-day delay. The judge I guess they agreed to a 30-day delay.
Alvin Bragg asked for 30 days
Yeah,
because he recognized that everybody needs time to review
Right.
these new
I am
pages.
fully frustrated with
Yeah.
I mean, I went on a rant yesterday. My day yesterday was so bad. So when I heard this was the straw. And my rant was basically, he is going to get away with this. He is going to fucking get away with this because people like him always do. My dad was
Yeah.
like,
Nicole Wallace
Hold
today.
on. Excuse me for a second. I need to let my dog out. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep talking.
But Nicole Wallace, before we went on recording, was just saying, well, we have to face it. There's not going to be any accountability for him. And I'm not ready to say that yet, but it was very difficult to see her and her panel saying that, which include Timothy Hafey.
So I mean, you have this thing with the district of New York, which is utterly, like, seriously, somebody better clean the fucking house at the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office and get this shit done. Okay, because yes, those are all Rudy people over there. They're the same people who fucked Hillary, and now they're screwing around again with it to protect Trump.
Yeah.
You have a judge in Florida who is protecting Trump, right?
Yeah.
Who should be removed from this case. There should be a different judge on this case, period. So and now we have Fani Willis. Okay, they came back. By the way, this would never happen to any ordinary person who was on trial and Fani Willis was the DA, but because it was Trump, they were able to get the lead prosecutor dismissed and Fani Willis stays on the case. Woo, But now they've put a hammer into her so that every cross-examination is going to have some element, of sliming Fonnie Willis.
Yeah,
And so
some lewd.
and then you have the Jack Smith case, which we're waiting for the Supreme Court, who's slow walking it with the absolute immunity thing. And it's still our best hope. I'm telling you, nobody gets justice. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. It is angering. And yet I remain hopeful. I am not ready to say that he'll get off scot-free, which is what Nicole was saying.
I don't think
What's happening in the DC case?
That's the key.
The DC case is on hold until the Supreme Court rules on immunity.
Oh, okay.
And that hearing will be next month.
That case. And so figure June before they rule on it. So he could possibly go to trial in August. But honestly, if he does or doesn't, the only way we get justice out of this, is defeat that motherfucker and then have him go, because he's eventually going to go on trial. Yeah. Right? And the only way he doesn't go on trial is if he wins. And then he dismisses everything.
Right. And it's the end of the United States.
Right.
It's just the end of us if he wins. That is how dire these stakes are. Yeah. And we have to say it every week.
The next person who says, you always tell me to vote because it's the most important election of my lifetime. And then it's not. It's like,
sorry, the last few elections have been that way.
Right. And they're going to keep being that way until that guy is either dead or in prison. One or the other.
A movement, because he isn't, he's like the charismatic figurehead.
The cult leader.
But it's like a cancer that keeps growing,
And the thing is,
and we were right about 2016. Okay?
No shit.
We were right to be panicking in 2016.
And so I would just like to say a big thank you to everybody who so condescendingly told us to calm down and that we were overreacting. Thank you so much.
Right.
For telling us that the Supreme Court was not at risk and that Roe was never going to be overturned. Thank you so much for those comforting words of wisdom.
And, in 2016, we had no idea that most of the Republican Party would be beholden to Vladimir Putin. What the hell?
Right. That's new. That's new since 2016. I mean, I certainly didn't expect that.
That wasn't a bingo card in 2016.
Hillary kind of foresaw it. She sort of foretold it.
She did.
She did about Trump. I don't know if she said anything about other Republicans, but
no puppet. You're the puppet. Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's why I'm saying the lesson to take away from 2016 is that whatever they're accusing us of is what they're planning to do.
Right.
So you need to understand that when they tell us that we're stealing the election, they're planning to steal the election. And that's really what they're planning to do. And I've had some encounters with people who are, don't want to be political. And it's like, I have to say to them, everything is political. Everything is political. Do you like your Social Security checks? Really? You like them? Because if you do, then you definitely don't want to vote for that guy.
Yep.
Right?
Being non-political is such a place of privilege.
Oh,
it's such a luxury.
It is.
Especially now. Because everyone needs to be.
Well, and you should be. I mean, what is the mentality that tells you that you don't need to participate in your government or your democracy?
The mentality is that politics is dirty and impolite. That's the mentality.
Well, it is dirty and impolite.
It is dirty and impolite. Get over it.
Right, and that we shouldn't talk about it in polite company.
It's dirty and impolite.
That's the mentality. That's the mentality, and it's so dated.
Yeah,
and it's always been wrong.
Right.
It's always been wrong.
Especially if you're a woman.
It's always been a mentality that benefited the people who have nothing to lose. The people who aren't going to be impacted by,
Until they are.
elections like this.
But we all have a lot to lose
I
in this
know,
life,
but that's
and
what
we
I'm
need.
saying. The people, it was, nobody wanted women talking politics because God forbid they might stand up and say they wanted the right to vote.
Well, you've
Nobody
got
wanted,
that.
this is, I mean, it's so, but that's where that comes from.
Well, they're talking about taking our right to vote away.
Oh, sure
Right.
they are. They would love it.
Ours, all three of us.
All
Ours.
three of us.
The
Charlie
boys
Kirk,
vote,
that
but women don't need
person
to
is running for governor in is it North Carolina or South Carolina? I get my Carolinas confused.
North Carolina, and
Yeah.
he is a nut, right? And
He,
he's like, I go back to the time when women couldn't vote. That'd be fine
yep.
with me. And
And
and that isn't just his opinion. That's the thing.
What? So he's running for
governor.
governor in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Does
Yeah.
he have a chance in hell?
Yes.
He does.
He's the GOP nominee. He has a chance in
He's
hell.
a Republican. I mean, but North Carolina, Biden's campaign is working in North Carolina. They want
North
that.
Carolina has been kind of purple, except for the way they've
That's
drawn their maps.
kind of what I thought.
It's kind of swingy. So
Yeah.
it's definitely one that Biden's working on. And in
I don't know
Georgia,
who the Democratic nominee is.
Georgia and
Oh,
Arizona,
Josh Stein.
yeah, and he's good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's their attorney general.
Yeah. So Biden is not just doing the same states that he was doing. They're
Yeah.
working hard in Wisconsin. They're working
Yeah.
hard in Michigan, and Michigan is a
But
challenge.
his team is so on it that he would be working on something like North Carolina's governor race. Like
Right.
they care about all of those races.
Not just the governor's race. They're working on winning North Carolina in
Everything.
Right,
the
the
whole
state
enchilada.
house. Yeah.
So I mean that's a major things that they're trying to do. So they're not just, in other words, they're not just focusing on the same states they focused on in 2020. They're trying to
Right.
expand that map. So but in Georgia, I thought this was interesting because Georgia is one of those real swingy states. You just never know which way they're going to go. And in Georgia, in the primary, 75,000 people voted for Nikki Haley, even though she dropped out of the race.
That's something.
Right? And,
Wow.
and instead
That
of
is
Trump,
something.
yeah. And
What did they write her in, or her name just hadn't been removed from the ballot?
her name was already on the ballot. She
Right.
dropped out, but so they could have voted for Trump. They chose to vote for Haley, and those are voters I guarantee you that Biden and his team are going after because they want to win Georgia again.
Right.
Arizona
Trump says he doesn't need them. So
Kirsten Sinema's gone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Ruben Gallego is going to win Arizona against Kari Lake, we hope.
Right.
We hope.
Yeah. And of course, in California, we have Adam Schiff will win
against Steve Garvey.
Steve Garvey is not going to win. I'm sorry.
You don't think so?
Good news in my district.
Yeah.
In that, Karoli, you were right. It takes a long time to get the votes counted.
Yes, ma'am.
And even though the guy I voted for was still at like 37, 38 compared to 57. There were two Democrats in that race. So the other one was like 11%. So it wasn't as lopsided as it looked. There's still a lot of work to be done here because Mike Garcia is terrible.
But it sounds like it was pretty much a tie then at the end.
60 to like 45.
Okay, there's a lot of work to do.
57% to like 45. So we have a ways to go.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as bad as it looked.
Yeah. All the counting is done. Yeah.
Almost. It's almost done.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's close if it's not done already. Most of the races have been called already. I mean, Prop 1, the opponents finally conceded. So
yeah, it's almost done. Los Angeles County wasn't as bad as it looked. I guess a lot of people waited to the last minute.
Yeah,
that's typical.
Yeah.
So I know for the first time ever, we waited till the last minute to turn ours in, and because there was one proposition we weren't sure about, and
Prop 1 was difficult.
it was tough,
It was difficult to make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What was
anyway,
what was Prop 1 again? I know you've told me, but
it takes some money away from counties and gives it to the state so that they can build facilities for homeless and mentally ill.
And mental health. But
right.
it takes money away from current mental health programs
That
to put
was
it
the
into housing.
struggle I had, was how do you do this? But I finally realized that the state actually has more capacity to do better, faster than
Yeah.
counties do. So that's why we did
All
it that
right.
way. But anyway, I mean, I wasn't here last week, so we didn't get to like talk about all that
We
stuff.
didn't. We spent the whole time talking about how great the State of the Union is, and then we tore apart Katie Britt.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, that State of the Union deserves
There was so much
go
to
down
talk
in
about.
history. I mean,
Yeah.
that first, I know you've already talked about it, but that first 10 minutes was gripping. I mean,
Wasn't
he
it?
just did not hold back.
Oh
was
no,
like,
he didn't ease into anything. He just jumped right in.
right?
But there was also the theater of his entrance.
Yeah.
And
right.
he comes in and he's glad handing everybody, and he has this look when he sees Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And, well, she's not supposed to wear a hat in the
No, but she's like
No.
wearing MAGA campaign gear, and hands him something for Lakin
And then this
Riley,
this other
say your
guy,
name, right?
this other dude was wearing like a t-shirt, a
Troy
MAGA
Nels.
t-shirt, and a bow tie.
Yeah.
Under his blazer, which is
Yeah.
probably also against. There's probably something against wearing t-shirts.
And George Santos was there.
George Santos was there.
The thing that I loved about it was just like you when you saw him, he was home, right? He was like schmoozing with everybody.
We
hanging
talked
out with
about
everybody
that. Yep.
and everything. And then going out, it was the same way. Like he spent another 45 minutes in there with everybody hanging out.
Yeah.
And
They had to kick him out.
And this was after he gave like this kick-ass speech.
Yeah.
And I just have to say that my favorite part of this week, which has been a really crummy week, but this part is good, has been all the compilations of Trump being in his speech. And I say that because there was this hearing, earlier this week, where I didn't even remember
Robert Hur.
Oh, Robert Hur. That's
right.
right.
Oh, Robert Hur. That's
right.
We haven't talked about that at all.
So Jim Jordan plays this video of Biden like making gaffes, which Biden does. I mean, it's part of what he does. And so, but not to be, left out, the Democrats also have one of Trump, with two of Trump actually, and both of them are just brutal. I mean, they're just.
Where are they? I need to see them.
Well, we have one on Crooks and Liars.
Basically, the Democrats have finally figured out how to fight back when the Republicans weaponize their hearings to smear Democrats. You guys, we have about a minute left.
That went fast.
That went fast.
Really fast.
That went fast.
That went really, really fast. I think we need to just wrap this up because we could probably go on for another hour otherwise.
Oh, I could.
I won't be here next week, but I'll be here the week after. So
yes, we won't have Karoli next week, but we'll probably have Aliza and me. So join us then on YouTube, momocrats.buzzsprout.com, or on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills with Karoli and Aliza Worthington saying goodbye for the MOMOcrats. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
MOMOcrats MOMochat is part of the Demcast family of podcasts.